A wild horse got stuck in the mud for hours and couldn't free itself without help. The heavy rainfall turned the region of Alberta, Canada, into a dangerous mudfield. Unfortunately, this was the downfall of the wild horse, which went beyond the edge of the forest and fell into a massive muddy hole. At first, it tried to get up again but was unsuccessful. Over time, the animal was dragged to the bottom of the swamp by its own body weight, sinking deeper as the mud rose all over its body. The horse panicked and made several attempts to free itself, but without success. It managed to grip the edge with its front legs. However, its powerful hind legs were completely submerged in the mud. As most of the animal's strength came from its hind legs, it could do nothing but struggle in vain. For hours, the horse fought to escape the situation, but it seemed impossible. The animal was exhausted and unable to free itself alone. With few people in the area and night approaching, it seemed that the equine would be trapped there forever and would die of hunger and exhaustion. Finally, the horse became motionless. It breathed heavily for long periods. It seemed that the animal had gradually lost hope of escaping the mud, as it was alone and no one was coming to rescue it. Even if it could scream for help, no one would hear it anywhere. Everything indicated that the horse would live its last hours. However, something unexpected happened. Suddenly, a man appeared on the edge of the forest. It was Darrell Glover, a farmer who had his own farm nearby. He kept his own horses there and was therefore very familiar with these animals. Additionally, the farmer had a managed woodland area. It was in this wooded area where Darrell was walking that day, thinking about the trees he could cut and use. Suddenly, he was interrupted by a strange noise. He went to investigate and finally saw the horse trapped in the mud hole in the distance. Initially, he didn't realize the severity of the situation, but after observing the wild horse struggle for a moment, he realized the urgency of the moment. He saw how the animal writhed helplessly in the mud, trying to free itself in vain. Darrell couldn't just stand there and watch the poor horse fight for its life alone. So he ran to the site of the accident and assessed the situation. The man immediately realized that he had to help the horse urgently. He ran back to his truck and grabbed a rope, hoping to lasso the horse and set it free. However, horses are much heavier than an average human, and no matter how hard Darrell pulled and tried, the horse didn't budge at all. Worried about time, Darrell thought of a solution and gave the horse some grass before quickly heading to town. It would take more than one person to free the animal. After 45 minutes, the farmer's truck returned to the woods, this time with Darrell's family members on board. With more hands and stronger people, the team hoped that the rescue would be somewhat easier. 2 vehicles were parked next to the mud hole to help pull the horse out of the deep mud. When they found the still trapped animal, they devised a plan. They attached ratchet straps to the horse and used the cars to try to pull it out. They hoped it would be enough to free it, but there were no guarantees. Nobody was sure if the rescue operation would work, but the team soon began to work. They placed the straps around the horse, which looked on with sadness and calmness. The animal didn't have enough energy to fight and seemed to understand that the men were there to help. The utility vehicles started pulling the horse, starting gently and gradually increasing the force. In case the animal expressed any sign of pain, they would immediately stop the pull. However, the horse seemed determined to free itself and showed no discomfort. Multiple attempts were needed, but finally, the horse began to move. Darrell saw this as a positive sign, but knew that there was still a long way to go. He jumped out of the vehicle and repositioned the safety harness around the hindquarters of the horse, ensuring it was secure and wouldn't slip. Then he returned to the vehicle and began pulling. Miraculously, the horse started inching its way out of the swamp. When the animal realized it was freeing itself, it began to exert even more effort, kicking its legs and pushing with all its strength. Suddenly, it slipped out of the hole, proud and covered in mud. Darrell and his team untied the horse's straps and cleaned him up. The young horse did something surprising and thrilling. He slowly turned towards Darrell, lowered his head, and looked into his eyes, as if thanking him for his kindness. Then he leaned forward and rested his head on Darrell's chest. It was a magical and silent moment of connection between man and animal. Darrell felt both proud and excited at the same time. The wild horse then turned around and galloped towards freedom.